This week on Dr. Drew After Dark.
Hydrocele, you gotta feel it, Hydrocele. Who's got the big balls now?
The passing away on November 1st. Not only that, but that was Samhain. That was the Day of the Dead. I just was like, I knew she was a Catholic witch. Well, they also that weird lungs, that speckled lung syndrome that they're getting from vaping as well.
That was some bootleg stuff that hit 12 people and that was it.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And, yeah. Welcome to Dr. Drew After Dark. Please be advised that Dr. Drew After Dark may contain sexually oriented content and be unsuitable for young children. Welcome, everybody, to Dr. After Dark. We appreciate you all being here. 818-253-1693. And, of course, drafterdark@gmail.com. Voice messages, emails. That's where I want you to send them. And the guest today is Reggie Watts. You know Reggie. Everybody knows Reggie. Band leader on the Late Late Show. Comedy Bang Bang. I mean, you've been around for a while now, which is nice.
Yeah.
But you have a new book.
Yes.
The book is called Great Falls, Montana, Fast Times, Post-Punk Weirdos, and a Tale of Coming Home Again. I am dying to know more about you, and I'm guessing this is the way to figure it out. Right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I mean, is it a memoir?
Yeah, well, I mean, I looked up the difference between autobiography and a memoir, and because I'm not a literary person at all, but I guess it would be technically an autobiography because it does go through all of my life up until now.
Why is memoir different?
Memoirs can be about a specific time in your life, even though this does focus mostly on the high school years, but it does go into my years afterwards as well.
And I opened to a page. My dad and I had our issues, of course.
Oh my God!
So
great.
Should we start there?
There we go. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
So what were the issues?
Well,
your mom was French.
My mom was French, is a huge issue.
I know. Why was it with him? Why not with her?
I know, and also a redhead. So you'd figure like
she was a redhead.
She was a redhead.
Redhead Française.
Yes,
that's weird.
I know. Northern France.
Normandy. Huh?
Close. It was area called the Lorraine. So like Alsace-Lorraine, like that area, they're kind of like sisters. But also they both had oscillations in territory from Germany and France.
Right.
So like
trauma.
Yes. Are you kidding? Like so much trauma. It's crazy. My mother. Well, anyways, I mean, father specifically. Oh my God, is that Susie Sue? Oh, that's so sick! Congratulations. Oh, sorry. And
that's Christina P.
Okay.
Christina P's studio is over there.
Oh my gosh! So sorry, guys.
She is a punk goth.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah.
When does she do her show? I want to
set him up for it, gentlemen.
That's great. Okay. Anyways, sorry about that. I was just like, that's Susie Sue looking right at me. My dad was a Vietnam vet. He did 2 tours in Vietnam, and then he switched from the Army to the Air Force, and that's when he was.
It's kind of an odd thing, isn't it?
I don't know why he did that, but he did that. It was really strange. He did something very helpful during the war. I couldn't really quite figure out what happened, but
so he must have been up the command scale, right?
He was I can't remember what rank he was in the Army. He was an officer, I think.
He has to have been.
Low level. Officer, and then
won't even give him that, huh?
Well, because
won't even give him officer.
because all I know is in the Air Force he was military policeman, so he was a master sergeant.
Oh boy.
So, but
tough dude.
He was a tough dude. He was very silent because of the war. And my mother, knew that was a traumatic experience because she lived through World War II. Her father fought in World War II.
Wait a minute, hang on a second. She lived through World War II. She must have been very young.
She was tiny.
Though.
She was tiny, but she was around during the war. And then the aftermath, and then not knowing if her father was coming back or not.
It was the Maginot Line right there in that area.
Yeah,
and they must have come around Alsace to get in. Right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Oof.
So when the war was over, the United States had these American bases in France, and so France then triggered the clause that says that they can, ask the Americans to leave at any time, and so they did.
And is that how they had met? Your parents?
Yeah, my dad was decommissioning a base in France, and there was a kind of a GI bar called the Charlie Bar, and they would go there, and then my father's best friend or good friend at the time was dating my mom's best friend.
Got it.
So it was like a kind of a blind double date that they met on, and my mom.
And was
took to
your
him.
mom English speaking at that point, or
No, barely.
did your dad speak French?
A little bit.
Oh my!
Yeah, pretty funny.
And did your mom raise you with some French?
She did. Yeah,
Yeah.
I spoke French, but I learned French orally. Even though I tried to
Yes.
take French in high school,
It's very different.
I was acing it for about like level 1, level 2,
Yes.
and then when the grammar got a little bit more complicated, I was terrible at it.
The spoken, written, and reading, each completely different disciplines.
Completely,
of
right?
France. I did a way down the road with writing and reading,
Yeah.
and could never understand why when I went to France I could not speak very well. I just couldn't understand it. So my whole story is I got long COVID,
Yeah.
and when I was having long COVID, I had this sense that I could kind of clear the fog by working on language. It was just this weird feeling that I could do music, dance, or language, and it would
Right.
help me. I thought, well, we're going to Greece, I'll learn Greek. 2 weeks cleared my brain up. It was weird.
You're serious?
And so when I
Wow.
got back from that trip, and by the way, I had ease with learning it, which was unusual for me. Like,
Wow.
I wonder if
New pathways.
well, you know, people wake up after a head injury and
Yeah,
can
yeah.
speak Chinese all of a sudden.
Yes,
It's
yes,
like,
yes.
I had a weird experience like that. But when I came back, I was also a little obsessed about language now. I thought, I'm going to finally fucking get my French together.
Yeah.
And I started studying spoken French. I went, oh, well, no one ever, this is a different language. And by the way, there's 3 different languages going on within spoken French in terms
true.
of the slang, the familiar, and the what I was taught, more formal French.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my whole story.
No, it's totally true. I mean, it is like, it's shocking where I'm looking at a word, you know, and I can kind of read it. I can get through it, but like I'm
It's
looking
totally
at a word, I'm like,
different.
I don't know how to
It's
pronounce that.
Totally
Because it's like, I don't know what that is. And then
Yeah.
someone's just like, no, it's this. And I'm like, oh, I've heard that a million times. I don't know what that is. It's like, no, that is that. Okay, well, I guess I'll just stick with
Just
what
stay
I know.
with the spoken. What
I'm all right.
we're going to read Balzac in French? No.
No.
Yes.
No, I mean, I should.
No. Read it in English and then speak French. It's way better. Do you spend any time in France now?
I do. Well, no. My mother. I don't know what happened. She just became a little bit distant from her family. I think it's because they were trying to she had land from her father, and her stepsister
Took it.
did a bunch of like crazy things to like fake signatures to try to
Ooh.
sell the land
Oh, boy.
without her knowing about it. And so
Wow.
my mom basically was disenfranchised from the family a little bit because they were being kind of just childish and swindly. And so, but that's not like all of the family. They still would call on occasion, but my mom just wasn't thrilled about going back to France.
I get it.
So she just never did in the last 20 years of her life.
And so your issues with your dad, were they all around him just being a tough guy?
Well, I mean, I think he grew up in a disciplinarian,
Forget your forgiveness. What was the issue?
well, yeah, right. I mean, the issue, I don't know. The issue, I think, was that he didn't want to have kids, and but my mother was just like, we're going to have at least one kid.
Were you the only one?
I was the only one, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And he would talk about how he didn't want kids in front
No,
of
not in front of me, but
Okay.
my mother told me like later
I
that
see.
like he wasn't interested in having kids, and I was, and as who I am now, I completely agree with it. I get it. I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't want him either, you know. But I think the main issue was, and why I bring that up is because I think he was a very happy-go-lucky, very charming, charismatic guy. In France when he was hanging out with my mom, and they were stationed in Germany, and they were stationed in Spain. So I think like he was kind of a different guy back then. He was a lot more open and looser and fun. And then we moved to Great Falls, Montana, and then he had to readjust to mainly white culture, and my mother was like super protective over anybody treating him differently or treating me differently. So she was very like triggered, like pre-wired to like defend at any moment. And my dad,
was that nice or was that challenging or both? Depending on when she was triggered, I guess.
I mean, she was kind of like a little bit over, like maybe 20% more aggressive than I would have liked, but in hindsight, like I completely get it. Like I appreciate it. She was just like, kind of like when you go to prison and you like look for the biggest guy and like punch them first or whatever. Like that's kind of her style.
Okay, got it.
And she would be like, what's
her
fuck with us.
ethnicity? It's Alsace-Lorraine?
It's like.
So half German, half French?
No, half French, and then my dad's African-American. So
your mom.
Oh, my mom. She was just from the Lorraine, so I don't know.
So whatever that is.
I don't know what that is.
Sort of German, sort of Belgian, sort of Flemish, sort of.
I wish I would have gotten. I wish I could have gotten a genetic. When I was like 23. I can't. Well, she's not around anymore.
Oh no, but I mean, you can kind of see. They give you a map.
Yeah, that's true.
Ancestry.com gives you a map, and you kind of go, "Oh, that's them."
Well. That's the weird thing. When I did 23 and moi, the French version, et moi. Most of them, my makeup, at least on the Caucasian side, is weirdly English and Irish, which is very strange. Maybe the Britons, maybe the Breton. I don't know. Very strange. I couldn't really figure it out. Yeah, it's like
and some of it, I think, when I see some of that stuff on those websites or those genetic testings, I also sort of start wondering, well, how far back did they go? I mean, maybe the Saxons and the Normans were actually ending up in Ireland, and that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. It definitely was so surprising when I got it back. I was like, well, there's not a lot of French in there,
or whatever French was.
Yeah, whatever French was. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but that was where she was from. So it's hard to totally tell. I really wanted to get more info on it.
I was reading a piece about a. Is that an Oura ring or is that a?
It's an Oura ring. Yeah.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
I want to get one of those.
They're the best.
Yeah, I think I need to do that. I particularly monitor my sleep and stuff.
You're gonna love it because you don't really think about it.
Okay,
all
right.
We'll
talk more about it.
We'll talk about it. Sponsored by Aura. No, it's just not.
But I was reading something that Benjamin Franklin was railing about the white people being inundated by certain racial groups coming over to America. He was his Pennsylvania populace was being overrun by immigrants and stuff, and he was railing on these I forget what he called them, but it's sort of non-whites. He's talking about Germans.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. And it was like,
wow.
The only whites in his mind were British and French and Saxons. They had to be Saxons. And so these were Germans.
Wow, the Germans were too dark for that dude.
Not dark, just not white.
Not white.
Whatever that meant to him.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's incredible to me.
Yeah.
It's like all throughout the ages, like there's like some version of that. Humans and like the biological tribal wiring mixed with societal enhancement and resource protection.
Yes, that's exactly that you just summarized. That's exactly what it is, and it's in us, and we have to the stuff that's in us. We have to fight against all the time.
Yeah,
just because it's in us doesn't mean it's good or bad or has to be part of us. It just is in us, and we got to watch it.
I agree 100%. I've got a little patience when it comes to that kind of stuff.
You have patience.
Well, when it comes to that, like if someone approaches me or says something like ignorant based off of some, like, I don't know, they're obviously threatened in some way or they're projecting or whatever.
Yeah.
In that moment, I'm not very reactionary.
You're not like your mom.
No, I'm not like my mom. My mom would have been like, I'm going to kick your ass.
And so how does music fold into all this?
Well,
and I'm also curious about your thoughts on music and language. You speak more than 2 languages, right?
Well, no,
Sort of.
I only, no, I don't. I really only speak English and French.
Okay.
I mean, but I know bits and pieces of other languages, and I can kind of understand some other languages. But I think I could speak more languages if I gave it the old college try.
Of course.
But
and do you feel like that music is a close relative?
I think music is the universal language.
But I'm wondering if I agree with you, but is it literally in terms of how you learn it and where it goes in your brain and stuff? Do you feel like it's like, because you obviously have musical talent, do you feel like your language ability is sort of tied in with that?
I don't think so. I think like, no, I don't think so. I think it's weird. Music is a language, but music in my head, like when I'm trying to imagine where it's coming from, it's a very clean, like a central connection that just kind of has it's just a clean, like in, out.
And is that because you've been with it so long? Did you start at a very young age?
Yeah, I started at age 5 studying piano.
Piano.
But I was really taken by music when I was younger than that. Like I loved music. Like I was always dancing and trying to imitate what I'd see on TV. So I've always been fascinated with music and dancing. Since I was as far back as I can remember.
Would it be accurate to say that the dancing is sort of rhythm? You're sort of So, and were you a percussion player at any point?
No, I never was. Never was. I mean, like I would tap on stuff and like use my fingers percussively, but I never really got into drums. I don't know what it is. Like even when I had access to a drum kit, when I'd sit behind it and try it, I'd be like, this is too hard.
Too hard.
I'm not gonna do this. But I can play drums on a keyboard. I can play all the drum. I can play a drum kit like a drummer on a keyboard.
Oh, interesting.
So that I can do.
And what do you consider your main instrument? Or instruments?
I guess my voice is my main instrument, but I feel really comfortable on a synthesizer, like a sampler synthesizer. It's easy, and a lot of my friends who are producers, they use all kinds of gear that I feel like I should know how to use.
I mean, computer stuff?
Like samplers, like, Akai, like they grew up like programming Akai samplers or doing like, step sequencers for drum machines, like a TR-808 or a 909 or Electribes, like other instruments that mimicked that, but, expanded on it throughout the decades. But I'm not really a MIDI programming guy. I like playing everything, and that's why I like looping. So with looping, I'm doing what they're doing, but I'm just playing it manually, and then it starts looping instead of like me sitting down and going, oh, the snare here, and the pattern goes by. I'm going to add a kick drum here. Pattern goes by. Oh, I like it. I'm going to take that kick drum away.
It just loops what you did.
Yeah, just loop. This is just like whatever I performed. It's a recording that just loops.
Got it.
And if it's that format, then I can think like a sequencer, and I can think like someone working with a computer audio program. So that's live. That's a form of production or performance called live production, which a bunch of people do. Like Ed Sheeran kind of comes from that tradition.
Isn't it sort of what the Bee Gees invented way back?
Did they do looping?
I think
maybe.
Early,
I don't know.
like it was one of the early. Literally had to set up like a tape and do it, explicitly. Analog.
There was analog. People messed with huge long loops and stuff like that, and they would do delays and things like that, which it's like a delay pedal can become a looping pedal. It's like they start to ride a weird line between them. But I mean, that sounds very possible. I mean, a mellotron was kind of like a early sampler, which was like, it had a keyboard, but when you pressed a note, it would play a strip of tape that had the sample of that note, of like a piano note. Like it would be an A flat. So you press A flat, and there's a strip of tape that's an A flat piano note, and it would just, as soon as you hit the key, it just plays the strip of tape, and it's only so long, so it'll stop after a while. But the most famous use of that instrument was like Strawberry Fields, that calliope sounding thing. That was, I believe that was a mellotron.
Yeah.
But I mean, some form of looping has kind of existed throughout the 60s, 70s, 80s.
Now
90s.
we mentioned that you just had finished Rogan
Yeah.
marathon.
Yes.
What kind of stuff did he take you through? Because you can talk on a lot of topics.
Man.
You just kept going?
We talked about everything. I spoke really, really badly about capitalism. I spoke, we spoke about that. We spoke about kind of like the nature of conflict, human conflict.
Was this on the heels of what just happened in the Middle East?
We didn't go fully there.
Yeah.
With that, I was like, let's see where the conversation goes. I don't really have like enough to, in that moment, I didn't feel like, well, I had enough to go on
to know
with that.
What was going on.
Yeah, and I wouldn't know where that would go in that situation. So I was like, I'd rather just, if it comes up naturally, cool. But if not, we didn't really speak on that. We just talked about it in general. And then, we talked a little bit about the book. We talked a lot about my fascination with, automobiles, especially like electric automobiles and propulsion and battery chemistry and like green future and AI being beneficial for humanity.
Battery chemistry. How did you get involved with that?
Well, I mean, very, very lightly. But I was just he was talking about how he's bummed that some of these electric vehicles, they don't have like enough range.
Oh, I see.
And so my thing was like, it doesn't really matter. That's not what I'm concerned with. My concern with is if these vehicles, which are superior in many, many ways, especially with trucks and SUVs and stuff like that, they're just a superior vehicle for off-roading. They just are. However, the range is the issue. So like if you go out in the mountains and you have anxiety, be like, I'm going to run out of energy. It's like, I'm like, yeah, but don't worry yourself about that because new battery chemistries are being worked on all the time. So
Right.
the battery packs will improve.
Yes.
But the technology around it, as long as that keeps being developed, the batteries are just going to get better. So there's no reason to worry. I guess I don't know. Anyways,
it is. I did a little chemistry back in my day, and it was not obvious to me that we would be able to develop batteries the way we did.
Yeah.
Some of the innovations were truly extraordinary.
yeah,
And
insane.
hard to predict, right? And so,
Totally.
that attitude that we'll figure it out is a legitimate, reasonable way of looking at things. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp, and this time of year can be a lot. It's natural to feel anxiety, some sadness, disappointment, but adding something new and positive can counteract some of those feelings. Therapy could be a bright spot amid all the stress and change, something to look forward to, and give you the tools to manage all that's going on. Of course, I'm a fan of therapy. I've been involved in mental health treatment. I've been in therapy myself. If you're thinking of giving therapy a start, if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It is entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule. And as I always say, stigma is the excuse people use, but how can you have stigma when you're not, it's all online. You're not going to run into anybody. You just fill out a brief questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist, switch therapist anytime for no additional charge. It's time to take care of your brain the way you take care of everything else. There's no reason not to. You can find your bright spot this season with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/afterdark today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/afterdark. Our friends at Manscaped want to wish you a Merry Balsmas. Holidays are approaching, but what if I told you that the celebrations are starting early this year? Turns out the perfect gift does exist, and who else to bring it down your chimney than the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. Keep calm, let your balls jingle this season with Manscaped's brand new Performance Package 5.0 Ultra, featuring the new Lawnmower 5.0. It's actually a great product. All your wishes and mistletoe kisses will come true. Look nice when you're going naughty by going to manscaped.com and use the code AFTERDARK for 20% off plus free shipping. Unwrap the gift of smoothness this season with Manscaped. Starting with Santa's #1 helper, we have the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. The 5th generation trimmer features 2 next blade heads, a standard trimmer blade for taking a little off the top, and a new foil blade to go for a smooth finish, whatever your heart desires. Now that you've groomed the candy cane, it's time to make sure you don't smell like a reindeer with the Crop Soother Aftershave Lotion and Crop Preserver Anti-Chafe Deodorant. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code AFTERDARK at manscaped.com. I do love their products. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use code AFTERDARK. Manscaped, get your jingle balls ready for the holidays. So when people read, the testimonials in the back are insane, right? Conan O'Brien, Fred Armisen, Sarah Silverman, and Conan particularly is like, you have to read this book. Reggie's telling of his story is a delight, exceeded only by my ability to use crucible in a sentence. He had been forged in the crucible of Montana via Europe.
Yeah.
So what do you want people to take away from the book?
I think it's just an interesting story to, I think me being who I am and how I got to be where I am is an interesting story. And I was excited to tell that story and also to have an example of something that might be able to be made into a TV series or a film of some sort, because I think like my experience was kind of unique. I know that there were other kids that we'll hear hopefully, people reading the book and going, oh, it was very similar to my upbringing and so forth. But it's just like a weirdo's tale.
I love these pictures in here too. They're fantastic.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I was really stoked to finally.
Oh, there's your mom.
Those. Yeah, there's my mom.
Yeah, I identify her as French. I can see it.
Yeah, you could see it.
Yeah.
She's very hyper French.
Yeah.
She never let that go. She was always a resident alien. She never became an American citizen.
Is that true?
Yeah, she was proud of her French citizenship.
Interesting. Oh, the French.
I know. I love it. I really do love that I have that in me. Even though weirdly I identify mostly with Germany, which is odd.
There's your dad. I've gotten very obsessed with French history, like weirdly.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. I don't know what, I started worrying about the French Revolution, and I've been worrying about that for a long time because it's the only other period of history I can find where there was, prior to the revolution, there was so much childhood trauma. That was similar to the present time.
Oh, wow.
It's the only I mean, there's always been war traumas and that kind of stuff, but that kind of familial interpersonal trauma and childhood sexual abuse and abandonment, pervasive in pre-revolutionary France. And 60s, 70s, 80s here, same thing.
Oh my gosh, I never even think about that.
Yeah.
I was thinking about like cycles, because obviously we've been through many cycles of stuff as human beings, because we're so awesome and like so open-minded, so dynamically flexible, naturally born critical thinkers, and it's like we just want to cooperate, and we want to share. That's the thing. Obviously, we love to share. Nothing more than humanity. What do they like? They love to share. They're curious. They're adventurous, and they're cooperative, and they're very helpful. And
very kind to each other.
Kind and helpful.
Well, here's what we do here. We take some calls. There's kind of medical calls coming in.
Oh, I love it.
Gird your loins.
Okay.
And then we'll watch some videos, and we'll hear some voicemails, and I'll do some emails maybe. And
Hell yeah.
Let's see what we got here. Okay, here is Jacob. Boy, things been waiting a while, so I want to get to, and Bailey, I'm going to get to you here too quickly. Jacob, go ahead.
Hi, Mommy. I have a question about my balls.
Okay.
Come to the right place.
All right. So when I was several months old, I had to have a hydrocele repair surgery.
Yep.
Because my ball bag had filled with fluid.
Yep.
And gotten to about a size than my dad.
Okay.
So I was curious if there are any risks for my balls that I might have to worry about later in life due to this repair surgery.
So you guys throw up another picture of a hydrocele for Reggie here, so we can let him know what that is. It's you get cysts in your testes. They can happen, and they can fill with blood or fluid or sperm, semen, and the hydrocele is the most common one. And there is one right there. They're operating on one. There it is.
Whoa.
It's there.
So what happened? So the inner, it's like a
big
fluid buildup?
Yeah, a big cyst. It's a giant,
I see.
And
so it's kind of like what women get on their ovaries, but like a male version?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, that's absolutely true. There's a nice blue one there. There you go. That's a nice hydrocele. And they get kind of nasty and big, and you have to drain them.
It's a cool name. Terrible condition.
Maybe write some music around hydrocele.
Yeah. Hydrocele, you gotta feel it, hydrocele. Who's got the big balls now?
Are either of your testes, where the side that the hydrocele was on, Jacob, is it at all smaller than the other side?
I actually luckily got them on both sides. So I went into surgery as an infant and actually still have 2 gnarly scars from it to this day.
Lucky you. And so they actually removed them surgically then. They didn't just drain them, which is great. I'm assuming you have normal testicular function, which you should, though it can affect fertility a little bit sometimes. But if you're otherwise normal functioning and you're not noticing the symptomatology, it's unlikely to be anything meaningful, I would say.
Okay. I understand.
Good times. Also, you can get hydroceles later too. Sometimes they can recur, but it's again unlikely, not super likely. Bailey, let's take Bailey here. Go ahead, Bailey.
Hi, Dr. James. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? You be on?
Good.
You're on with Reggie Watts.
So
What's up?
I was on birth control, a pill form, for about 10 years, about 15 to 25. And I got off of it like a year and a half ago, and I've been losing a lot of hair around my hairline.
A lot of hair, okay.
So I didn't know if you knew if there was any correlation between birth control and hair loss, and if so, what that's about.
And when you say it's around your hairline, you mean like a male pattern baldness, like on top of the head?
Yeah.
Okay. And how old are you now?
I'm 27.
And did you say you had been on the pill and now are off, or you're still on the pill?
Correct.
Off.
She's now off. She's been off for a long
15
time.
15 to 25.
And you wanted to ask, you said you knew what was going on?
No, I was just guessing. And,
what would you say?
I was wrong.
Well, wait. There's a lot of stuff that goes on with birth control pills. A lot.
Well, I've heard something about hair loss, like the reactions, hormonal reactions.
Sure. I mean, hormones. Hair is highly dependent on what's going on with your hormonal system.
Oh,
yeah, both on and off the birth. I mean, maybe the estrogen that you were on for all those years was causing hair growth, and then you took the estrogen away, and the hair falls out. I mean, that's certainly a possibility. The other thing is that maybe your ovaries aren't functioning quite the way they should. The other thing that happens, I think what you were going to probably talk about, Reggie, is that people get these drops in their libido from the birth control pill, and sometimes
that's true.
And sometimes it's permanent. And the other thing, I always bring this up, also from antidepressant medication. There's not enough is made of that.
I've heard of that. That I've heard.
But permanent
is,
libido loss.
I don't like that.
It blows. Nobody likes that. And there's actually a group forming of like a sort of a patient activist group to try to raise awareness about that. It's terrible. It's terrible.
And that's sex drive, correct? Libido.
Sex drive, yeah. But really, when your libido is really gone, all of your sort of vitality goes with it. It's an important part of who we are. Bailey, have you tried? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, now that you bring that up, I really feel like I don't have much of a sex drive at all. I mean, I'm in a 4-year relationship. We have super attracted to each other, but I'm never really feeling it.
Interesting.
Any pregnancies along the way here?
No.
Okay. Have you seen a doctor about this?
I have not.
Okay, so there could be a lot of other stuff going on too, right? We're sort of blaming it on the birth control pill, but you could again, when you get your thyroid checked, that can cause all of this. There's other sort of inflammatory or even what they call mitotic things going on that can cause this. So you definitely want to just get a doctor to look at you to make sure there's not something else going on here. And there are treatments, right? There's a lot of stuff they're doing for hair loss. Just the easy thing, obviously, is Rogaine. It prevents further loss. And if it is a hormonal thing, getting that corrected, perhaps, like diagnosed and then corrected, right?
Okay.
Okay. So definitely do take care of it. Yeah, people. It's interesting to me how people, particularly women, will just sort of dismiss low libido. It's like, oh well, just so I got to, or maybe I'm under too much stress. They do all these inventories and they blame themselves. When I'd say 8 times out of 10, it's biological. As you can help.
Well, it's like if you remember a different way of being and you're not being that way, then that's I mean, it's kind of a simplistic thing, but there's obviously something has changed.
A lot of people, men do this particularly as they get past like 50. They go, "Oh, I'm just older. I got to accept this." When oftentimes, no, there's something going on, and we can help you with it, or we could.
Yeah, I mean, the vitality thing is a huge thing because I know I had a friend who went through it was some kind of autoimmune, maybe it's like lupus or something like that, and lost all their mojo, and they just felt terrible. And then they finally figured out the hormonal there's a hormonal thing going on.
Is it male or female?
Female.
Yeah.
There's a hormonal thing, and then once because she gained weight and she was trying all these like diets that were suggested by people and so forth. And then finally, when she figured it out, oh no, she had, Hashimoto's syndrome.
Thyroid.
Yeah, thyroid. So she had a thyroid issue. And then since she got her vibe back, now she's like, I think I want to date again.
Was it all thyroid and everything came back?
I think so, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, that's why I was referring to with our caller. That could be the same thing. But I cannot stress enough how much testosterone is overlooked in women and how important that can be sometimes. If they're having perimenopause, menopause, testosterone is left out of the conversation, and it's often hugely important in terms of sleep, mood, libido, all that stuff. That we go, oh, that's the men's hormone.
It's like,
no, it's not.
It's a human hormone.
It's a human hormone.
Just like
exactly.
people have different ratios of it.
Only the men get that one.
Say, this was for you guys. I don't know. I don't need it.
Here is Mark. What's up there, Mark?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Well.
Mark.
Get that Labrador under control there.
Yeah, right. Sorry about that.
That's all right. That's what they're there for.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Nope, it's you.
Yep. So I just had a newborn born on Sunday.
Woo!
And we live up in the mountains about 8,500 feet, and so she's on oxygen. So my question is, will the mother's breast milk kind of notice that and kind of help her kind of get acclimated, kind of similar to how when the baby would get sick.
We're not following you, my friend. So you're in Colorado. You're at high altitude. You're in like Colorado Springs or something, right?
Yeah, correct.
And mom is
we're in.
Very what?
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And then the mom is on supplemental oxygen right now. Why?
Sorry, the baby is.
The baby's on supplemental oxygen. Why is did the baby have a meconium or something? Aspiration?
No, we just live at 8,500 feet, and so her O2 levels were fluctuating anywhere between 85 to 95.
The baby's?
Correct.
And was the baby premature?
No, she was 37 weeks.
And I don't know anything about high altitude. In neonates in high altitude, is that something common that they desaturate like that? Do you know?
Yeah, the doctors pretty much said once we left the hospital that we should stop at a fire station, get her oxygen checked, and then basically because she was below 90, that she's got to be on oxygen. And so I was curious. So when the baby gets sick, I know the mother's breast milk will change to kind of help the baby not be sick. So I was curious if that would be kind of similar sense, just trying to get her adapted to the altitude.
The mother's, I'm not aware of any data that suggests the brother's milk changes. It's already adapted to help with antibodies to fight illness. That's already there.
There's a colostrum, right, which is important.
It's important nutritionally,
No.
and in terms of the immune function too. But that's already there. In terms of oxygen, there's no mechanism that I can think of that would create anything in the breast milk that would be associated with how much You're really talking about the oxygen desaturation curve of hemoglobin. And people that live at high altitude tend to shift that curve a little bit and to create more hemoglobin to compensate for that. And that's just a function of development. So the child would naturally do that living at high altitude. Okay?
Okay.
All
gotcha.
right. Good luck with the baby. That's a big deal. You said, wow. That's back to your feelings about not wanting to have kids. Like, is it overwhelming, the idea of a newborn?
I mean, that's the one thing. And when I think about my dad, I kind of like, I get it. I mean, he was an only child. He was a groovy
Where'd he
dude.
grow up?
He grew up in Cleveland, Ohio.
He's a groovy dude.
He was a groover, like he loved to dance. He loved like drinking his cognac and driving his Firebird and like, and he was a little bit of a, womanizer a little bit, but not womanizer, but like he loved women.
Before he got married.
Before he got married. And so my mom kind of was just like, you got to knock that shit off or whatever. And he did. He was totally cool. But I think he just lost a lot of his vitality. And also he was a chronic smoker and he developed emphysema. He had a heart issue. He had open heart surgery because of the smoking and the drinking and like, and he was never like, he was a martial art. I mean, it just goes to show you, like, you can look like you're in shape, but you could be doing not that well. And so, it caught up to him. And I think that further silenced him. So he's like a war vet. He's taken out of like the zone that he was like explorative, experimentative. And then suddenly his health starts to decline. And I think it was just a compounding thing. But I mean, it's like, I don't know. I just never had it. I think about it and I'm like, or I'm even amongst my friends who have children and I'm watching them, I'm like, I'm just not interested in spending that much energy constantly managing someone else, where I feel like my thing is I love going on adventures, running into other artists and having inspiring conversations. And I want to, it's like what Sarah Silverman said, like she's got a great quote. She said, I love children, but you can't swear on here, right?
You can.
Oh, you can? Okay. I love children, but I love being able to do whatever the fuck I want to do more.
Yeah.
And so, and it sounds selfish, but I think my primary, in this life, I feel like the thing that I'm trying to get to know the most is myself. And I'm having a good time doing that through art and working with other artists and collaborating and trying to spread a message of like, guys, let's be cooperative and let's knock off all this stupid divisionary shit. And so, and then also just environmentally, I don't know where we're going, and it's like to have a kid right now just seems like, to me, not the best idea.
How did you get to be friends with Sarah?
Comedy scene. Yeah, comedy scene, New York. She she was always very kind to me, and I was obviously a huge fan of hers because her and David Cross and Odenkirk and those type, or Ben Stiller and those types of people were really huge to me, and so for her to spend any time talking to me, it was like a big deal. But she was just great to me, and love her very much. And so just like over time.
Did your dad get to see your success, your career?
He didn't not really. That was the kind of bummer. He a little bit in Seattle. I was in a band that was starting to do pretty good.
Was that the same first band?
The first band that, like, my first original band that got the most attention out of any of the projects I've been in was called Mock Tube, and Mock Tube was a Seattle band that I started in 95, 96. Yeah. But I was in a ton of other bands, but I was like a side guy. I was like the keyboardist or the backup vocalist or something like that. Mm-hmm. So, but he didn't really get. Also, his reaction, his vibes were always very like, okay, like he was never like super. He was not animated, but I think he was proud. I think he was proud.
How about your mom? Did she get to see it?
Yeah.
She's still around, your mom?
No, she passed away last November. November 1st. What's that?
What'd she die of?
She died of too many ghosts. She saw too many ghosts. No. She
died of fright.
Listen, you're a doctor. You understand too many ghosts. I got a great
show for Travel Channel for you.
Okay, wait a minute. It's kind of like the paranormal versus medical. Paramedical. It's called paramedical, and it's amazing. No, she had like compounding things. Like she got RSV. Whatever RSV one, the kids virus that older people will get sometimes. So she got that, and she was like in recovery hospital, whatever thing, for like 3 weeks, and that took a lot out of her. And I was flying in every month to go visit her, and she just got to this point where I could just tell that she was tired. She wanted to I think she was hanging out because she was wanting to make sure that I was okay, and I, demonstrated hopefully enough that I was, and I was visiting her every month. And then,
was she excited about your career?
She was proud. She was proud about it. She was never like, she never like got into it, because there's a different generation. She was 83.
I was going to say she may not get it really,
Yeah. I think my father or my mother really got it. They knew that I was being silly, but they didn't get deep into it. But I don't know. I think in the end it was. What I loved about my mom is that she was like, I think I'm going to die in November, is what she said to me. And I was like, nah, man. Cause I was always like, nah, you're fine. You're going to be, whatever, around forever. And then she kind of fell more ill, and the woman who was taking care of her, phoned me and was like, I don't know, man, there's like something going on with your mom. And I was like,
in
okay.
November.
Yeah. And no, that was,
October
29th.
Oof.
So I got there, October 30th. So I got there October 30th, 31st, and then on November 1st, it was the night of the 30th, the 31st. So it turned, is that how it went? Yeah, I think that's what it was. No, it was on, sorry. She died around 9:30ish p.m. on November 1st. So she was right about the passing away on November 1st. Not only that, but that was that was Sam Hain, the Day of the Dead.
Oh my God.
And I just was like, I knew she was a Catholic witch, and I was there. She waited for me. Like I took her to bed, and then she just like got in bed, and I said, I love you. And then she said, I love you back. And then she just rolled over and passed away.
Wow.
Insane. Like, you can't write that. Like, I feel so lucky that I was there.
Yeah.
Like, incredibly lucky that I was there. And, and my dad died on his birthday. So my parents like both like died in pretty.
Was your mom a smoker too?
My mom was a smoker, but she quit cold turkey.
But still, that's why the RSV had so much impact on her.
I think so, yeah. She was always
did I see in the book one of the pictures of her in a hospital bed?
Yeah, she was. Yeah, she was. That was when she had her heart attack.
Oh my God.
So she had a heart attack.
Smoking, guys, smoking. Anybody doing cigarettes?
Yeah, or vapes, man. Vapes are different.
Vapes don't do that.
Yeah, but they do something else.
They do something else.
Yes.
So here's the deal on vapes.
Okay.
If you're vaping nicotine, it is in every study the best way to get off cigarettes. And cigarettes are literally 100 times worse. So go ahead and get off the cigarettes with vapes if that's what you got to do. then go ahead and get off the vape because there's a shit ton of chemicals in the vape. And the government actually has some good data that shows that it's precancerous changes. So we're expecting to see sort of some cancer down the road from that.
Oof.
So
that scares the crap out of me. Well, they also that weird lungs, that speckled lung syndrome that they're getting from vaping as well.
You're talking about the thing when that horrible syndrome with the vitamin E oil and stuff.
Yes, that's what it is.
Yeah, that was some bootleg stuff that hit 12 people and that was it.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And popcorn lung, let's see here. I'm thinking this is going to be a intense call here. Let's do it. Let's do it. And then we'll watch some videos.
I'm ready.
Marissa, what's going on?
Hi.
Hey there.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. What's happening?
Okay, so basically, I was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder back in June, and immediately lost my health insurance.
Oh boy.
So I have this diagnosis, and I've just kind of been living with it with no medicine. I have a new job. We'll be getting insurance soon.
Good.
But I just kind of wanted advice for, like, how to deal with it, because, like, I feel like there has to be something that I can do to help, because, like, my hallucinations have been more and more frequent. It's overwhelming, honestly.
Yeah. And what were the medicines you were taking?
I never had medication for the schizophrenia. Like, I was diagnosed, and, like, a week later, lost my insurance. Didn't get any medicine.
And these hallucinations, they've been with you your whole life?
Well, see, that's what I'm not totally sure of, because, like, I've always, like, had, like, small, like, I would hear things that weren't there, see things that weren't there, but, like, really, like, few and far between until I just turned 26, and then it kind of, like, hit like a train. Like, that's why I went to the doctor for it, because I was like, there's something going on. Like, I'm, hearing stuff, like, every day.
Was it just auditory, or you have visual also?
I have visual, like, very, very, like, I'd say, like, 1 in 10 times it's visual. It's mainly auditory.
And what are the voices saying?
It's, like, usually just, like, hello, or I hear, like, a beehive a lot, or just, like, kind of like nonsense, like white noise.
And so they're not persecutorial or anything where they're being yelling?
No. Yeah, it's definitely not, like, full sentences.
I don't know, Marissa, this has kind of an organic quality to it. What kind of doctor did you see?
Well, I started with a therapist who referred me to, like, it's not like an official psychologist. She's like a behavioral.
Did you see?
I went to her, and then
did you see a doctor, a physician?
Yeah, I had to do, like, the full psych eval.
With a psychiatrist. With a psychiatrist. But you've never seen a general doctor or a neurologist?
I mean, I have, like, a family doctor, but I never approached them with that. Like, this whole thing started with therapy.
Once you have insurance, I would definitely go back and talk to a general doctor about this. There's a quality of this that doesn't, I mean, it can be, there could, was there anything else that you've had to manage your whole life? I mean, schizoaffective is a lifelong condition. Were there other problems?
Yeah. So I've always had anxiety and depression. Like, I was officially diagnosed and treated with that since I was 17. I have post-traumatic stress as well. And then I just got diagnosed with bipolar too.
Oh my goodness, it's a lot of stuff.
It's lovely.
It's lovely.
It's a little fruit salad in my noggin.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got concerns that there's sort of over-diagnosing and over-psychiatrizing you.
Right.
There can be some organic stuff going down here, and of course the medical stuff, the organic stuff can make the psychiatric stuff worse too, right? And it goes back and forth. I can't, I for 30 years I worked in a psychiatric hospital, and
oh wow,
first 10 years I was there, my job was medical care of psychiatric patients, and I'd say 20% of the time, 20% of the time there was a medical problem causing the psychiatric condition.
I see.
Or somehow, or being caused by the meds or something. But 20% of the time, a medical condition figured strongly into what was going on. And so I think you need to at least rule that out at this point, because the kinds of hallucinations that go along with schizoaffective are usually kind of unpleasant, and they're
like intrusive.
Intrusive. They're your names, and when you have a visual hallucination, what is that? What do you see?
It's usually just like dark figures.
Is that at night, or is that any time of day?
Oh, any time of day.
Any time of day.
Or I'll see, I see flashing lights sometimes. That's newer though. That's like in the past couple of months.
Yeah, listen.
So, I mean, that could,
That is not hallucinatory. That is neuro-ophthalmological, and that needs assessment.
Well, I also have, I have ocular migraines, and this is just jogging my memory when we were talking about that. But I also had to get like scans of my head a lot when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
But
why?
I had to
why
talk to my parents about that.
Why?
They thought that I might have a brain tumor. But they never found anything. They would just check it regularly.
And what were the symptoms you were having?
I don't even remember. Probably just migraines. I've always had migraines.
I don't know. Check.
I lose my vision sometimes.
Lose my vision sometimes. See, this is all non-psychiatric stuff. Well, you need to see a neurologist. Really, this needs to be explained. There's something not right about this. And please, once you do so, call me back and let me know what the deal is here, because they've taken you down a path where you've got 4 different diagnoses, not all of which fit together.
Right.
Or if they do fit together under the one umbrella of schizoaffective, there's lots of aspects of that don't fit with what you're describing to me.
Okay.
And schizoaffective, in my experience, is usually people are they're not as frankly engaging as you are. They're sort of more flat. With the schizo part affects the personality, and it's technically kind of a personality disorder. And it's I don't know. You don't feel like that to me, though that doesn't mean you couldn't have it. It's possible, but I don't know. You get that all checked out, okay?
Yeah. Thank you so much. That it's scary when you get a diagnosis. Oh.
Yeah, and getting a bipolar diagnosis with schizoaffective sort of. Actually, I put her back in the caller room, but she'll hear us. Is that but part of as one of my psychiatric friends said, that they're schizoaffective, meaning the mood disturbance, and that can be bipolar or just depressive, and there's schizoaffective, where people are more schizoid and flat and hallucinatory and delusional, that kind of stuff, and some mood disturbance. But everyone I've ever encountered, whenever I ever dealt with that syndrome, they're not as engaging as she was. She was personable.
Yeah, and very cognizant of what she's going through, and also a sense of humor about it.
Yeah, right. So interesting. So, it was working in a psychiatric setting like that all those years was extraordinary.
Wow.
No internal medicine people like me get that experience anymore, and it's unfortunate because you get I'm so grateful to have seen this wide swath of the human experience, and the excesses with which we approach these things sometimes.
Oh, man, nuclear options.
But hey, listen, man, that one of the things that I learned early, because I thought I was always interested in the brain stuff, and that's kind of why I gravitated toward that job. And I thought I had some knowledge in psychiatry, and within a couple months, I'm like, I don't know shit. I gotta stay open-minded and learn and consult with my psychiatric colleagues when I need them. But that place was like a fucking museum of psychiatry. It had been around for 100 years. Wow. And I was still, because I was the internist, got to take care of all the catastrophes that were left behind from the psychiatric interventions of the 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Wow.
The lobotomies, the singulotomies, they did various kinds of shock therapies. Electric shock was just one of them. They had all kinds of shock. They had insulin shock, parainfluenza shock, septic shock. They do all cold shock. They did all because when they raised the chemicals in the brain from the shock, the mood would get better. I've had patients with chronic depression that came out of an ICU septic shock. I've never seen them better, and it lasts about 3-4 months. So I thought, oh, this is where they started thinking about that.
Yeah.
But I've seen some catastrophe. Anyways, the singular, the surgeries, the psychosurgeries, catastrophic. Yeah, you can't even.
That's just like, I don't know, man. Yeah.
Just let this be a lesson to you. Whenever you hear that something is a standard of care medically, just the hair on the back of your neck should stand up. Standards of care, untold harm. It was a standard of care to give a dentist, a patient after a tooth pull, 90 Vicodin. That was the standard of care in the 90s and 2000s.
Wow.
Standard. If you didn't do it, you're guilty of abusing your patient for inadequate treatment of pain.
Whoa. Do you think that was like kind of cooperative with the company? With
the companies got into
medical industry?
The pharmaceutical industry got into it actually late. But when they got into it, the pharmaceuticals don't cause medical movements. They blow wind into the sails.
Right.
They go, oh, yeah, come with us. Well, yes, you should be speaking for us and tell the world how great this is. We agree. And the doctor would be like, yes, you're the perfect partner for me to help the world.
Yeah.
That's what they thought they were doing.
Wow.
And I have all these quotes from the doctors at the time. I give a lecture on this. The quotes are just breathtaking.
Wow.
Yeah. And I the whole time was fighting it, the whole time. And I was getting crushed by the state medical board, the Department of Mental Health, my own hospital administration. Because why? Because my heroin addicts, when they did a pain scale, which I was required to do every day, had an unhappy face when they were in withdrawal.
Yes.
And I didn't give them painkillers. And that was considered patient abuse.
Whoa.
I didn't give them opiates in opiate withdrawal because they were a little unhappy. I gave them lots of other stuff, by the way.
Yeah.
And we got them. No one didn't get through it. Everyone got through it.
Right. Wow. God, that's crazy.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
So when COVID came and the standard of care started going, I was like, whoa. Please don't use that word, everybody. Let's figure this out.
Damn.
And, and then the state of California wants to sanction doctors who don't follow the standard of care. I'm going slowly insane with these movements.
I mean, it's so tough. I think the foundation of it is the litigiousness.
Well, that's a whole other layer to this.
I think that's
another
prime motivator of like, well, we'll just like create a standard, that kind of protects whatever result occurs. It's because that was the standard. So
it is at least, yes. Well, the attorneys take advantage of everything. Let's be fair.
Yeah, sure.
But it's the bureaucratization and the mindlessness with which people are walking through life now, as opposed to engagement and careful, creative thought and stuff.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I'm very worried about that. That to me is like, that's kind of the problem. One of the problems of our time.
Gotcha.
People are not thinking. They're I don't know what they're getting swept. This is back to the French Revolution stuff. They're getting swept into these emotional movements and hysterias and and I get it. It's very gratifying and sometimes it's right, but everybody be careful. Think for yourself.
Yep.
Stand back. Take a deep breath.
Get a fourth opinion.
Yeah. Oh, for medically, for sure.
For sure.
Because from the standpoint of the doctor, a good doctor wants you to be happy. And if you want more opinions, great. Let's get more opinions.
Yeah, totally. Well, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
It's collaborative.
Yeah. All right, let's show Reggie some videos here, if you don't mind, guys.
Sure thing.
It's just like Evel Knievel videos.
They might be.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
You never know. It's your mom's house.
Can anyone else do
Found
this?
something really weird, but I guess it's the hypermobility. But like that.
Ooh, look at that! Good for her.
Doesn't that look?
That's interesting. I like that. Yes, she has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and that can cause that. I'm HSD. What does that mean? I'm looking at that too. I love the way they use these abbreviations as though they're universally known by everybody. HSD.
I know. I'm SSR3S259.
I know, exactly.
Oh, yeah. My grandmother was SSR239.
HSD. Whoops.
Hypermobility spectrum disorders.
Oh, okay. Well, that's Ehlers-Danlos type stuff. Good for you. Came up with that quick.
They're getting faster.
Give me another one.
So she said, what's the problem, baby? It's me. I am the problem. It's me.
Well, HLA-B27 is a genetic subtype that's associated with various rheumatic conditions. But that still doesn't mean you're responsible for your medical decline, so-called, nor does it mean you're destined to a medical syndrome. It's just HLA-B27 is associated with some specific conditions. That's all. It's not a cause per se. I don't know. Give me another one.
A lot of y'all are curious what happens if I mess with it. This is it right here.
Oh, goodness.
Except for it gets worse. This is just from the doctor squeezing it. That's all he did was squeeze it.
What the fuck?
Is it a wart? Did she say anywhere in her thing what it is?
It says moles or girl with the moles.
It looks fungal.
It does have a fungiform kind of appearance to it, but that's kind of the way. We also call that verrucous to go with wart.
Oh.
And it looks kind of wart-like to me.
Rough texture.
And so why aren't they going to help that poor girl and remove that thing? Anyway, I kind of like that she's putting it on, out in the world, so she doesn't have to hide herself, and people get used to seeing things happen. You know what I mean? And I always feel bad when people have to hide themselves away because people are weird. People don't like seeing certain abnormalities. Are you looking at warts there? Yeah, same stuff.
Such a crazy phenomena.
Yeah. Giant wart on head. Well, that's not even a wart. That one in the middle lower, that's called seborrheic keratosis. That is not a wart. That is not a wart. A lot of these are not warts, interestingly. That's a wart. See the difference? Can you guys see the difference? No? Between a wart, like that thing in the upper second one in from the left? Yeah, that's a wart. Right. So, it has wart-like properties. It's actually more of a nevus. So.
Is this our show now?
Yeah.
Is it a wart?
Is it a wart?
We're going to just do dermatologies. All right. What else you got? Give me another one. I got to call him, but take in a second.
Someone with instant clown syndrome.
Yeah. I have an eye dot that falls from my pupil to my iris when I look up and down and back up again. I see it on the lower part. Let's do that again. Let's let her do it again. We'll watch it.
I love the music they choose.
I didn't see it happen.
Like aspiration.
I believe her it happens.
I didn't see it either.
But if something is, if something's moving around in the iris, that is in the anterior chamber of the eye, and that needs to be looked at. That is not normal. It's probably a blood clot or something, left behind. An eye dot. All right, let's take a call here. Come on, Reggie. We're going to help someone.
All right.
This is Tony.
Tony.
Hey, man. What's happening? What's going on?
Oh, man. Just dealing with the bad lower back,
How old are you?
I'm 34.
Are
35,
you overweight?
Yeah, a little bit.
How much do you weigh?
I'm 6'4". I'm 6'4" and 235.
Okay. And have you had any major injuries? Have you fallen or done anything to your back?
Yeah, back in high school, lifting weights.
Okay.
Classic.
Yeah. Do you still lift weights?
Doing cleans.
Do you still lift weights?
Not like just to maintain, not to
right, not to get big,
not
to play football.
Yeah.
And is this something that just kicked up? Does it come and go, or is it chronic now?
It comes and goes, but it stays a lot longer than it used to.
Okay. Are you on any medication?
No, sir.
Okay, good. Yeah, there's a lot that can be done for that. Don't get an operation, whatever you do, please, unless there's something really unusual going on there. The neck, when you get discs in the neck, that operation actually is good and does help people. The one in the back, low back, I've never seen it not result in more operations. I've never seen anybody happy with the operation afterwards. Certainly you get local injections. That can be very helpful. There's a lot of local stuff you can do, cortisone and whatnot. You can go see a chiropractor. Sometimes they are very helpful with that. You can see a physical therapist. There's a lot to be done. But please don't let anybody operate on it. That's been my rule of thumb through most of my career. Reggie, anybody, friends?
Yeah, it does seem like it's starting to spread too.
Well, certainly get a diagnosis. Make sure, see what's going on there. There can be nasty things sometimes that cause pain, right? And you want to make sure it's just the run-of-the-mill disc thing, which everybody who's upright has, my friend. Everybody who stands and walks upright has low back problems, especially if you've been a weightlifter.
Yeah, I tried.
Do you have it?
I feel pretty good. I have like sometimes I'll get like a little pinched nerve in like my mid back, and sometimes lower.
The mid back is you do a lot of planes?
Yeah. I mean, I try to, I don't know. I try to do like a lot of core stuff. And,
good.
A lot of like, especially like scissors, like scissor kicks are really good with your hands underneath your, as long as you're feeling okay. But like those are great. Sometimes actually, if I do have a sore lower back, I will do those scissor kicks. Just get on the ground, lay on my back.
Walking is great for the low back.
Yeah, it's true.
Walking, just walk on with proper shoes on the right kind of surface, and it'll help.
Yeah.
And it will go away and it will come back. That's the other thing about low back. It goes and it comes and it goes and it comes. One of those things. It's part of being upright. And as soon as somebody says to me, I have a bulging L2, L3, blah, 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 give me all the anatomy, I'm like, I don't care. Everybody has something with that.
Yeah,
everybody. Yeah. So just because you have a bulging disc does not mean you should take opiates or get an operation.
Man, it's just a domino effect, because then it's like you go in, it's like one thing, and then another thing. And you're like, no. Yeah, a lot of times, like even like my knee, I have like weird knee stuff. And when I was on Rogan, he was like, "There's this guy, his name's well, there's stem cell. That was ridiculous. It's so like, it's almost like voodoo. Like, I mean, there's some evidence, but it's like so 50-50 and not certain that you're going to be spending like 15 grand, 20 grand for something that might maybe work, which is just not worth the price to me." But this guy that he referenced me to, I think his name is Knees Over Toe Guy or whatever, and he contacted me, and his whole thing is he had a knee surgery, and they said he would never get his knee flexibility back, but now he's like kind of like a functional movement guy.
Yeah.
And it's insane what how he's helping people with knee injuries. Well, he says he wants to, so so we'll see. I do want to get my knee stronger, and
it's so funny how Rogan is into everything that way. He just whatever the latest thing is, he's got it. He knows the data.
It's there. It's there. He's like, this guy. I'm like, okay, cool.
Most of my career, I was skeptical of that. I would always pull back a little bit from the newest, latest, because I'd say most of my career that always ended up being bullshit.
Yeah.
But lately, here's what's happening: is that there are these innovations. They do work, but you can't afford to do the trials necessary to prove it. Mm-hmm. So no one ever gets to prove their therapeutics because there's no pharmaceutical company funding it. That's how insane things have become. So I'm coming upon things that are like that are like, okay, this is like a good thing. One of the things that I talked to Rogan when he got his COVID treatment, his doctor gave him ivermectin, monoclonal antibody. It's pretty standard, whatever. And monoclonal antibody is very effective back then. And 2 days of, God damn it, NAD infusions.
Nicotinamide
NAD infusions. Yeah. And the first several things that the press went insane about were like sort of standard things, not innovative and not really hard, just inert, standard, either inert or standard. But the NAD infusions, I was like, dude, that's interesting. How did that work for you? And I was asking him, like, if they wanted to make an issue of something, that's what they should have made an issue of.
Yeah,
because that is really outside the box thinking. And Joe felt it really helped him, which was very interesting.
I mean, I changed because there was some evidence that it might exacerbate certain forms of cancer.
NAD?
Yeah, NAD. And so I switched to the company that I use. They have another version. Basically, there's a substance that promotes NAD production rather than
riboside.
Yes, exactly.
That's what I take.
Yes, that's what I take.
So I take the True Niagen version. Is that what you take?
Elysium.
Yeah. These are. I've looked at that data carefully. I've talked to the scientist repeatedly, and I think that is something. I think it's doing something in terms of the oxidative state of our cells is associated with aging.
Yes.
And if you can push that back even a little bit, you're going to do something.
Yes.
And so that's sort of my stupid thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been taking it for a while, and I'm constantly reading data and just making sure like what I'm taking, because I love neurohacker stuff. There's something nootropics and those types of things. It is an interesting area.
Yep.
And some of it's just supplementary, so I don't really feel like it's that dangerous. If anything, it just doesn't do anything.
Right.
And you've just spent a lot of money on a miracle supplement.
Although I was saying something the other day that I took creatine for a couple of days. I'm like, oh, damn, it really helped my performance. I got to take this every day.
Creatine is getting a lot of good press. Yeah, I started taking it too. And I was like, because I was associated creatine with like, oh, I'm weightlifting. So I need to take, if you're weightlifting, you got to take these supplements. But there are some amino acids or branched chains that are like really awesome, beneficial.
Amino acids, another very good.
Yeah.
The data looks very good on that.
I like that.
Essential amino acids. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Okay, so before I let you go, we're kind of winding up here. One of the things in the book that I did not quite get from your history and story was Montana via Europe.
Oh yeah.
Were you traveling a lot in Europe or something, or how did you, other than your mom's influence? What was the European influence in your life?
Well, I mean, I would go to France like every other summer to visit my relatives. So
would you stay for a while?
Yeah, we'd be there for the whole summer.
Oh, good. That's so good for kids.
It was great. Like great immersion. I got to hang out in the little village where my uncle lives in Toul, and visit like my aunt in Mont-Saint-Émile, which is in the middle, and then my uncle lived in Nice, and so in the hills, he was a truck driver, and so stay with him, ex-military, go to the beach, like whatever. I was like, there was a lot of time me like hanging out in small, quiet villages and walking around country roadsides.
I'm developing a fascination with that right now.
It's amazing.
As the world kind of gets weird, I keep thinking maybe that's where I should.
Yeah. I mean, any place that's like gets you in touch with nature, and
just simple life.
Just like, I don't know, as long as you feel like you're de-stressing. But yeah, so that's a lot of where that came from. And then also the 80s was just an interesting time, like the perception of what Europe was at the time.
Were you in Europe at the time?
I mean, yeah, it was like all because I grew up in the 80s, so like it was like all, whatever you'd see, like Breakfast Club, or like Europe in that time period was very just like, oh, it's French. It's like, oh, the Swiss, they're so exotic. Like
in England too. We had the New Wave, which was a British invasion.
Totally, a lot of exoticism, of Europe and like in sophistication and things like that, or Berlin coming out of the Berlin Wall crisis.
Did you go over to Germany and stuff?
I did not go there. My mom has never really liked Germany just because of the war. So she's never, she's never forget. She.
It's hard for them.
I remember. I think I was at lunch with my great aunt, and she was in a home, but like we got to take her to lunch to this place, and so we took her to lunch. And it was in a valley, and across the other side of the valley, you could see from the restaurant windows, you could see the other side of the valley, and there was a train line that came through there. And so there was a train, and like the whistle went off or whatever, and she was like having some cognitive issues, and when she heard the whistle, she immediately took her knife and fork and like put it in the napkin and like in some bread and like wrapped it up in the napkin because she was ready to go to escape because she thought it was the Germans. So she was like, les Boches. And that was insane to see that.
Wow.
I was like, whoa, it's crazy. So the trauma of the war, my mom just never, she was very proud French woman and was, and even though she had a friend who was German, it just took, she was just naturally suspicious.
There's a famous book called The Body Keeps the Score. It's about trauma and PTSD and stuff. And it's just so true. Once it's written into your body, it's just, it's not an explicit memory. It's a bodily based memory, and it's there.
Yeah. It's just like, it's like reactions, like compulsion or whatever. Yeah. That was crazy. But I mean, like I said, my mom would be open, but she just always had an eye on somebody until she felt like they were safe.
Reggie Watts, everybody get the book. Is the title Great Falls, Montana? Is that how do you look on Amazon?
You just look at
various titles here.
You just Great Falls, Montana.
Montana.
Yeah, Reggie.
Okay.
Those are just subtitles. But it's a fun one. It's just tells you about. It focuses mostly on my high school life. So
it's really an interesting little travelogue in the 80s too, which I dig. The 80s were a great time.
80s were awesome, man.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel slightly bad for any other generation, but it's like because the 80s were like.
It was fun, right?
It was like the last time we had that innocence before we were hyper-connected with cellular and networked computational devices.
Yeah.
It was like the last time where you were just like, I'll wait for you on the steps. Oh, they didn't show up. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to leave.
Not only that, for sure. Yeah, just normal human conduct. But there was a joyousness about that time, too. I remember
so much.
Yeah, I was growing up in the 70s. The 70s was terrible, down, we suck, we're everything's bad, and I will never forget. And it was fall of 1980.
Yeah,
I was at a house party, and it was still this hangover of the 70s was still there. But this party, everyone seemed like enjoying themselves. And then TiVo, Whip It came on.
Yes.
And people were dancing that I had not seen, maybe in my lifetime. I just thought, oh my God, we're having fun again. We're okay.
Yeah.
It was extraordinary. And it wasn't like things were obviously better because everyone was very upset about Reagan, and they looked like war was imminent with Russia.
Yeah.
But somehow we kind of broke out of our. And I wish for that again for us.
I think that there'll be another cycle like that for sure. It's like I predicted that rock would make a big comeback after COVID, and it has. And where I live in, I always call counterculture the health of a city of a cultural. The city's cultural essence, and so for me, like LA, there's still tons of amazing post-punk bands and punk bands and hardcore bands, and it's a pretty healthy scene. A lot of dark music, which is kind of like, to me, the fertile soil that all music scenes kind of sprout from. And so I think because of that, and just like we're kind of getting tired, we're getting worn out. And I think like people, and when I went to this, I went to an amazing electronic music festival in the UK called Houghton, and everybody was just there, just like, all we want to do is dance, and that's all we're going to do, and that's all it was.
I love it. And from, as we say, it's from your mouth to God's ears.
Yes.
Great to spend time with you. Really, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
So where do you want people to go? Just other than getting the book, go to Amazon, get the book.
Yeah, go to Amazon. Just look out for it. There's an audiobook as well that'll be out.
Get the book and then look for the movie and the TV show.
In the movie and the TV show. It's going to need 2 of those.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.
All right.
All conversations and information exchanged during participation of the Dr. Drew After Dark podcast or interaction on the drdrew.com website is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Do not confuse this with treatment or physician medical advice or direction per se. You must always follow your medical professional's advice and direction. Nothing on these podcasts or posted on this site supplements or supersedes the relationship and direction of your medical caretakers. Please understand, I am not playing the role of physician in this environment per se. I'm educating. I am a licensed physician with specialty boards in American Board of Internal Medicine and American Board of Addiction Medicine.